I'll shut her up.
I can't wait for you to go back and edit this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hello, Future Perry.
That's Future Perry's problem. Screw that guy.
Dang it, past Perry. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I am your host, Perry. And I got Swan with me, as I kind of normally do, but also not Curtis. We're going to call you not Curtis all night. Is that okay?
No.
Okay.
Not okay with that.
All right. This is Chad from It's Bourbon.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back, Chad. It's been a while since you've been on.
It has.
You were in the background of the live show.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then, shouting a response.
Every now and then.
Yes. And yes, questions as well. That's right. I forgot about that. Anyway, welcome back.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here. We're going to do something kind of fun tonight. We're talking just about barrel-proof bourbons. All of our, well, not just about, but our progression to barrel-proof bourbons. And, you know, this is where we kind of find our home and what we enjoy the most. So I figured it'd be a fun little topic. Swan actually suggested this for us, so you are co-producer on this episode, Swan.
Oh, man, I'm going to be in the credits now. Heck yes.
But we got to get started off, as we normally do, with Flying Blind, where I blind the guests with something that they don't know what it is.
It's light.
It smells a little nutty.
I wonder why, Chad.
Tastes a little nutty. But yeah, it is easy. That's...
I'd say it tastes mostly nutty. Mm-hmm. Honestly.
Yeah, especially
I
the
can agree
finish.
with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, that's not bad, though. I
No?
haven't had this in a while. This was a surprise that I found out in the wild. I had to hunt for it. It was hiding among the bushes.
It's deer bourbon.
Stag. It's the lightest George T. Stag you'll ever have in your life.
Buck. Isn't there a buck bourbon? Yeah.
I think there is.
Yeah.
It's like $20 a bottle and aged for a minimum of 3 years. I think we've about covered it on that. There's not a whole lot
Not a whole lot you can say.
to really dive into there.
Standard. It's
Accessible.
classic.
Yeah. Well, it's all Jim Beam Black, but it's 8 year. It's age stated. 86 proof. I think this is from, if I remember correctly, like 2009, maybe a little bit earlier than that.
I would have said 2010. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm with him, man. It's a 2010 vintage for sure.
Yeah. It tastes like 10, but
2010 was a good year for Jim Beam.
I believe you. What I kind of like about it is I find that it's so this is what, 86 proof?
Yes.
It has more spice on it than you might think, like a mid 90s proof.
Yeah.
Or even you could tell me this was 100 proof and I'd be like, yeah, okay.
I think that and it was funny when you guys were talking about how it had a little bit of a kick, or excuse me, not a lot of a kick to it. It was just kind of easy to sip. My first reaction was it had a bit of a kick, and there's a lot of spice up front.
I mean, it definitely builds the more you drink on it. Yeah.
For sure.
And I think I pointed out before that Jim Beam seems like it's got more of a punch than some of the other distilleries. Which, for somebody like us that, like we said, kind of lean towards barrel proofs, having something lighter with that Jim Beam kick to it,
Yeah.
I like it.
I certainly don't mind it. I'll say that much. But anyway, that was a very quick kind of flying blind. But what have you guys been drinking recently?
Absolutely nothing.
Go listen to last week's episode.
Yeah, last week's episode. That's it. No, I had plenty last week, so calmed down a little bit. Took a week off. Now I'm back to ruin that once more.
That's good to do every once in a while.
We did have kind of a wild recording session last week.
Patreon will learn.
Yes. They most certainly will. Chad, what about you?
We were drinking on some Boone County 12-year-old the other day before we did a flight fight that'll be coming out Friday. And we were going to do one of our brackets in our 64 bourbons under $30.
He's doing it legit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
64. But I found out I didn't have two of the bourbons that they wanted to do. Well, I had them, but they were in the 200 milliliter plastic bottles, and I was like, that's not going to look good on camera. So I'm going to wait and go buy bottles of that. But so what we did, kind of looked back at the idea board that we had and some things written down, and it was entry level of each distillery. So we picked 4 distilleries and took their entry level offering. So we had Four Roses. I don't guess you can call it yellow label anymore. So just call it 80 proof. Evan Williams 86 proof, the black label. Mm-hmm. What do we have? Jim Beam white label, 4 years, and then Wild Turkey 81. Mm-hmm. So the entry level of 4 different distilleries.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a prediction.
Go for it, because go ahead.
I'm gonna say Four Roses won for you. Okay. I think it's a bit of a wild card. Well, I would have gone Jim Beam, but I'm just something saying Four Roses.
Same for Sarah, or do you think she picked differently?
Oh no, I think she picked the Jim Beam.
Okay.
Well, I think there was a role reversal this time around.
You'll just have to wait and see.
And that I will. YouTube.com/It's Bourbon Night.
There you go. Yeah. So that's what I've been drinking. What have you been drinking?
I picked up the other day 2 different Russell's picks. One from Whiskey Bear out at the Summit, mm-hmm. Which was really good. Our buddy CJ and mm-hmm. Some folks from Lexington Bourbon Society were on that pick. And then I also got one from Unlimited Spirit that is from Camp Nelson. And it's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good. Not to say that the Whiskey Bear one isn't, but this one, like I opened it and it was just immediately something special.
Is that the one where they donate the Camp Nelson? Is that where they donate to a fund? Does it have like a big red?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'll have to look into that a little bit more.
Because we have one of those, but I can't remember if it was Camp Nelson or not. But that sounds so familiar.
Are you talking about the pick that Adam Terry brought you?
Yes.
I think that you may be merging 2 different things. It could very well be from Camp Nelson, but I think that particular pick, they donated something to somebody.
They did.
A little nebulous conversation.
Yeah.
There's a guy and a thing, and they did the one, but, anyway.
Yeah. All right, just different synapses firing there.
Anyway, the Russell's have been really good. I did something kind of fun the other night, though. After a fun drinking day at Keeneland in 45-degree weather outside all day long, which was great. It really was a good time. I'm not going to lie. Later on, went over to my father-in-law's house and figured, this is as good a day as any. So I brought over the rest of my 2017 WLW and we killed it.
Wow.
Whew. Yeah. So it was a special night of drinking and had a good little flight for them too, and yeah,
it's not bad. Kill with some good people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it had gotten to the point where I was going, well, someday, or eventually, and I was like,
and then you remembered the words of Freddie Johnson.
There's always more good bourbon.
And you, yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
It's exactly what he said.
Go watch Neat.
He said some words that make you feel some things. Don't ask me to remember what he said, but he said them. And that I know.
All right. Thank you, Chad. Back to the studio.
All right. Back to you, Bill.
So like I said, this episode's going to be us talking about the journey or the progression towards drinking barrel-proof bourbon. And I figured that we would literally take a journey towards a barrel-proof bourbon. Not literally, but as we drink. Each bourbon's going to...
So not literally. Literally, we are taking a journey. We're leaving this room. We're walking downstairs.
I was really hoping you were going to take us on a pick or something.
I know. It's like, behind that door is actually a warehouse.
It's actually Freddie Johnson.
Yeah.
What if he just rolled out like 4 barrels of Blanton's?
I mean, I'm not going to complain.
One can dream.
Would not.
Anyway, we're not literally going on a journey. Figuratively,
It's metaphorical.
This is not a cigarette. We're going to go step by step all the way up to barrel proof bourbon, which is going to be our review in Stag Junior, which I didn't realize we had never done a review of on the show before, but I figured it was as good a time as any. But we got good stuff planned for it. So the next pour that we're having is Bullet Bourbon, just the regular 90 proof offering. And this was for me kind of my stepping stone into tasting other stuff. And, this was what I called for a long time my everyday bourbon. And really what I kind of preferred before I tried that wonderful, wonderful Four Roses OBSO pick at OBC. And then the entire world opened up to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Odd that this is also Four Roses.
Well, yeah.
Or maybe not odd.
I think my opener, kind of like the 90 proof range, was Elijah Craig. That's what got recommended to me when I went to a liquor barn in Louisville when I was traveling around, and they said take that home and try it. And I was still mixing it with Coke when I first got it. Started drinking it on its own and kind of launched me into bigger and better things after that.
I guess I'm trying to think of what my what is Woodford 90 proof?
Yeah.
It was probably Woodford. Yeah, or like Jefferson's small batch, which is 90
wow.
and some little bit of like a point something.
It's like 90.35 or something ridiculous. Yeah.
90.2, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. Just because of the bottle shape.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I bought it. But yeah, that was. And then I want to say I had a Russell's bottle because I remember it had like the faux wood on the sticker. You remember that? Those old bottles?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those, but I don't think it was the Reserve.
No, not that one. The one before it.
Yeah, so not the single barrel, the just the regular Russell's Reserve.
Oh, okay.
Small batch, I guess.
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old.
The 10-year-old,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
You know, I can't entirely remember where I went after Bullet. I think that it was a little bit Elijah Craig. I think that's when I really started dipping my toes into it. And I think once I found out what Bottled and Bond was, I think that might have been the highest proof that I ever really had. But there was a long period of time where I was really just kind of drinking 90 proof bourbons. And mostly Bullet. I think I might have dipped my toe a little bit into Buffalo Trace as well. Mm-hmm. Just because it was about the same price point and, at the time pretty readily available. I mean, it went through that period where you couldn't find it anywhere, and now you can again, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so dead set on Bullet for probably a good 2 years. And then I think it really was once I tried Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond for the first time, the world just opened up to me. And I think that Bottled and Bonds are a really good way of taking that next step or diving into higher proof products. And, if I were to do it all again, Turkey 101 might have been in that game too. That being said, I mean, that's based on how my palate is now and the little journey that I took finding that.
Yeah, exactly. I think my, in the Bottled and Bond area, was more like Kinder McKenna and E.H. Taylor small batch. When I found out small batch, I was like, oh. and that's why I have like a case now.
Yeah.
From just getting them over the years. I thought I'd be drinking it a lot more often than I am, but so I've kind of accumulated. But and they're probably like 2015 bottles.
Ooh,
or something.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like I remember they kind of changed the hue of the bottle from like
yes, they did,
or the texture of the sticker.
It's supposed. I think it's what it is that it's more like red now than it used to be. Like it used to be a little bit more orange.
Yes.
I think I can't remember for sure. But
yeah, one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
The one that's hanging up on the set that I made into a light was the first bottle of small batch E.H. Taylor I ever had, and it was that different color, and even the texture of the label was different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
I'd have to actually do it. Hold them side by
Hold
side.
them. Yeah. And Swan just went from 0 to 60, so.
Yeah, I went straight to Elijah Craig Barrel Proof after that. I did go back and kind of do the natural progression, but I got a bottle that was way out of my league.
You know what? I go back and I think about that. I think I've talked about this on the show before too. You gave me that bottle. And I was like, what, half of it left? Mm-hmm. And you were like, I just can't do it, man. It's just not in my wheelhouse. This was in like 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yeah.
So it would have been one of the first few releases of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
It was the 136 release, so it was the one directly after the 139.4.
139.4.
Yeah.
I think I have both of those, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So I kicked myself just a little bit, going, I wish he had saved some of that.
Yeah.
But this was in the day when, I wasn't buying as much bourbon as I am now, and I didn't have the...
You didn't know.
Exactly. And I didn't
Yeah.
have the plethora of options that I do
Sure.
sitting behind me.
Right. Well, you're lucky on the Elijah Craig, just like the regular 94 proof Elijah Craig, because I had a bad experience with it in the fact that my first purchase of that was a pick that I didn't realize was a pick.
Yeah.
And I thought I didn't like Elijah Craig, the brand, for years. Actually, until probably I started the channel and had to try it.
Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, nah, no. Either I forgot that it was a pick or I didn't realize it was a pick. It didn't have like a big sticker or anything on it. I think it was just like the neck tag or something.
Weird.
And I was like, oh, this stuff is nasty. It was just a really bad pick.
Yeah. Those happen from time to time, too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about the Bullet?
It's solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty good. I almost get like a slight sour quality to it that I'm not a huge fan of it. But other than that, everything's pretty good. I think I like the high rye in it.
I didn't find the sour note that you did.
It might just be me, because I went back to Bullet after my dip with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and I had a lot of it, and just kind of, I don't know. I mixed it more with Coke than I did anything else. So when I first started having it, just regular, I guess I wasn't prepared for the taste, or maybe didn't like it as much as what I had previously.
Sure. I can understand why I went to this as a daily drinker for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the price point, it's really solid.
Yeah. There's really nothing overly like bad or noticeable about it that makes me go, I don't want to drink that. It's just kind of average.
Yeah.
It's gently average.
Yeah.
And I didn't do too much exploring with the rest of their lineup. Like, I didn't have the rye for a long time, and I didn't have the 10-year for a long time. And then the cast strength, after trying anything over 110 and thinking, I can't do this. Perry, please take this bottle. I didn't get that for a long time, so I just had the original when I started going back.
Well, the rye is another story. That's a 95% rye. That takes some easing into if you're not used to it.
So, speaking of high rye ryes, I didn't realize that New Riff rye is technically 100% rye.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a 95%, and that the other 5% was the malted barley. It's malted rye that they use.
Yeah.
So I've been saying for a couple of months that it's a 95% rye, and I apologize.
Well, it's a 95.5, but they're both rye.
Well, yeah. So it's technically a 100 proof.
Yeah, 100% rye, yeah.
It's still technically 100 proof. I mean, you got that right.
It is 100 proof.
It is bottled and bond, yeah.
Yes, but it is 100% right.
100%, 100 proof.
Where do you guys want to go next? Actually, I don't know why I'm asking you that, because I know where we're going next.
I think we want to go with where you want to go next.
Well, we are going to go...
Door number 3, please.
It's Weller 107. It's Weller Antique. This was one of those... For a long time, I was like... we were hunting for it and going, like, it's the unattainable one. We got into bourbon right at that point where Weller became impossible to find. And I still think that this is maybe the best expression of Weller, aside from the antique collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to gravitate towards this over the 12. And I found actually a couple bottles of the 12 before I found the 107.
Yeah.
It took me a
Wow.
while. And then once I did find some of the 107, I found quite a bit of it.
Well, go to Texas. Apparently,
Yeah, no kidding.
it's just all over Texas. We found one bottle when we were in Texas, and we went to 2 liquor stores. But it's not like it was just sitting on the shelf. He was like, "Oh, you guys like bourbon? I have some Weller 107 in the back. Would you like a bottle?" It's like, "Yeah." $27.99. Put it in the suitcase.
I haven't had a really good 107 pick in a while.
I haven't had a whole lot of picks, so I do think I have some that I haven't opened.
Yeah, I actually have more picks than I do just the standard offering.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all just kind of been all right.
Oh, man, this one is a lot of just like baking, a certain type of baking spice. I don't know what it is.
It really is.
It
doesn't
stings the nostrils. I mean, I'm saying it in a bad way, but it is pungent in this Glencairn.
It's almost like a spicy gingerbread type thing.
I've never smelled.
With some lemon zest.
Yeah.
Kinda,
I've never smelled 107 like this before.
oh,
It's always been kind of
man.
sugary and like bready, and this is just so not
Like
that.
it's almost like if a bourbon could increase in proof in the bottle. Like if it was to get low in the bottle, and it's almost like this one has kicked up.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't. It can't. But it has that feeling.
A teeny tiny little bit of like mint on there too, just barely on the very back of the nose.
That's good.
It is good. Kind of short though, but good. I'm getting that winter mint on the finish.
Yeah, and I'm not really getting a whole lot of what we were finding on the nose, on the palate either.
But how different is this from that Beam 86 proof that we had at the beginning?
Extremely.
I'm finding very similar qualities
Really?
in the finish,
I'm not
in
I'm
that
not finding
like spice level.
I will say I've got a very specific corn pudding note as well on there.
I mean, this one has no nuttiness in it, but I'm just like the aftertaste of like just the proof of it all. I think is kind of similar. The Beam tasted higher. This one might taste a little bit lower.
The proof of it all would be a really good name for a bourbon book.
The proof of it all.
Yeah.
I get that a little bit, just being like the weeder nature of it. It's a little different, but I mean, it also kind of mellows it out a little bit. Where the Beam, we kind of talked about it, kind of ramps it up a little bit from the proof.
Right.
So, it's not super far off. It does have kind of like a different palate completely, but the finish, yeah, you're right. It's closer than what we had the Bullet.
They're not so different, those two.
I'm getting some more of a hug too on the second.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry. Should I
third
let you
sip.
go? Sorry. I get a little handsy when I drink. It's an audio medium, Barry. They can't see. They don't know what's going on.
Well, now they know though, Chad. So this for me was not just an introduction to some higher proof stuff, but also, aside from maybe Weller Special Reserve and Makers, a really interesting and different introduction to the world of wheated bourbons as well. And kind of like maybe the gold standard for what a wheated bourbon could be like. And I was always under the impression that, it was just all going to taste like Makers rather, or maybe a little bit of larceny in there too. But this is what I expect and kind of hope for from a wheated bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
In that it may, have some of those sweeter qualities to it, but the barrel is really helping it out, bringing out those darker notes as well. And I think that the higher proof is really where this shines through as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why a lot of times we prefer this over the 12 years because of that, 17 points difference in proof.
Have we done those blind yet, Swan?
What's that? Which ones?
The 3 Wellers.
I have done them personally, but I don't think we've done them on the show. And I ended up picking a Weller 12 out of a blind, but I typically prefer the 107. I think it's just because I've had a little more variance in it with the picks.
Yeah.
Because I've had 3 or 4 of those, and I think some of the picks I've preferred over 12, and the standard offering maybe not.
Do you still do? You had that really cool like Lazy Susan method of blind tastings.
Okay, yeah, I have a spice rack that I take all the spices off of, and then I basically put like 4 or 5 Glencairns with a piece of paper underneath it, and then just put A through E or whatever.
Yeah.
And I fill it with bourbon, and I'm like, well, I don't have any friends here to mix it up for me, so I'll just put on the Lady Susan, turn it around a few times, and then come back and try it. And I did that for a little bit. First one I did that with was Old Granddad Bottled and Bond versus Wild Turkey 101. And that's when I immediately picked up that Turkey 101's got it down in that category.
Oh, for sure. So do you have say you have 6 Glencairns, are 3 with Granddad and 3 with Turkey 101?
I usually just did 1 pour on each, but when I first started, I had a lot of like kind of what you were talking about with your episode you're doing this Friday. I had like initial releases from each one, trying it, because everyone at the time when you first started drinking, you can't tell what a profile necessarily is. You just everything's got heat to it, and,
Right.
And then that was my way of like defining a profile, figuring out kind of what I liked. And at first, I really liked Willet. And I started going between Noah's Mill, Rounds Creek, a couple of different ones like that, the Johnny Drum. And now it's not necessarily my favorite, but at the time it was.
I don't think that's... I mean, it could be your palate, but I also think some things have changed there at that distillery.
We talked about this before, too.
I think it's scientifically proven now. I don't know. But one thing I want to say was I actually heard that the distillery says the correct pronunciation is Rowan's Creek, which is not like the county.
Really?
Here in Kentucky. It's Rowan County, but they say no, it's Rowan's Creek, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
We have a lot of conversations with you about pronunciations of bourbons.
Well,
Basil or Basil, Hayden?
yeah, I don't know. It just
Rowan or Rowan?
it interests me. What can I say?
I mean, you don't want to get somebody's name wrong. You definitely don't want to get the name of a bourbon
That's
wrong,
true.
especially if it's named after somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, just saying. No, it's cool. I like that Lazy Susan method.
Yeah, it was because at the time I didn't have a whole lot of people that were close by that drink bourbon.
Yeah.
Still really don't. So it was just an easy way to kind of blind yourself for what, $7, however much those little Lazy Susans are.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, thanks for coming to my house, Swan.
Yeah, now you can do it for me. It's great. I made friends, guys.
We haven't done a blind episode in a long time.
Yeah, we need to do that. I mean, we do one at the beginning of every episode.
Well, yeah, but I mean like a flight.
Yeah. We need to get a bunch of the Elijah Craigs together and do that.
The barrel proofs?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Talk about an episode where we get silly.
Yeah. I'll
Bear would get silly.
I'll need to take a day off or recover on your couch.
You know, you don't have to do a Perry pour every time.
I don't do a Perry pour every time.
Okay.
Just on accident.
You say so. Yeah.
Look, we'll measure it all out. It'll always be 1 or 2 ounce pours. How about that?
Whoa.
Chad?
2 ounce pours? So you're talking about 6 ounces of barrel proof bourbon?
Yeah.
In a... Okay. Oh, y'all do you.
Have y'all not done that yet at all on It's Bourbon Night?
No, we have.
I thought you had.
But we normally do between half ounce and an ounce.
Ah, all right. So I'm just an idiot.
Doing a Perry pour. It's fine.
I mean, I will
a lot of
admit,
bourbon there, champ.
sometimes when it's, really comes down to it and you keep A/B testing back and forth, you're like, I need some more. And there have been a couple flight fights where I have asked Sarah to, go pour some more for me if I was still trying to figure it out. But generally, I can space it out to where that doesn't happen.
Does that still work with your new method, though? Because you guys are kind of doing it, not double blind, but...
Well, she would have to already have her results. Like, we couldn't both go get more.
Okay.
So she has made her results. She can go, pour some more for me. But we couldn't both, go get some.
It took me a long time to figure out how your new method worked. I mean, I was really struggling with, this just doesn't make it... But how does one of them not know what the... But it just doesn't make any sense to me. And, it finally clicked one day, the way that you organize it. And I was like, okay.
Yep.
Telling you, man, get you a spice rack. It's easy. Spin that thing like a turntable. You're good to go.
Then you've got bourbon glasses flying all over the room.
Yeah, you might want to drill some recess holes in there to put the Glencairns in.
Oh, no, I live on the edge.
Okay.
Spin that thing.
And so does your bourbon.
Yeah.
On the edge of a lazy Susan.
It was very slow. It wasn't like...
That's some edge that you're living on there, so
Now, what you could do is Amazon, get a Christmas tree rotator, Christmas tree turner, and attach your Lazy Susan to it, set it, go watch an episode of The Office or whatever, come back, you have no idea, because it really spins slowly. But, if you go off and do something, come back, then the bourbon is opened up in the glass, the Christmas tree rotator has turned your bourbon so many times that you have no idea where it is, and it would look cool, too.
I actually really love that idea. The only drawback I could see is that at the end, like by the time you get back to it, you're like, well, I'm so comfortable on the couch watching something. And you're like, I guess I'll get up and...
We'll just do it on the coffee table and just zone out, zone into the show.
I'm just trying to find out where I get a Christmas tree turner in like almost May.
Amazon Prime, baby.
There you go.
Throw that on the Amazon influencer
Oh,
page.
for sure. Here's a Christmas tree turner. Yeah. Actually, one was featured in the 5 Things You Didn't Know About Blanton's episode. When you see the bottle turning, that is a Christmas tree.
Really?
I don't know what you properly call it. Rotator? A Christmas tree? Rotator? Spinner? Whatever. But yeah, one of those.
Secrets of the Trade with Chad Perkins.
There you go.
A new podcast coming to you. Anyway, let's try something else, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
How about this Russell's that I talked up so much
Yeah.
just a second ago from old Camp Nelson?
You said you had when you first got your Elijah Craig pick, you had one you didn't like.
Correct.
This was the same for me.
Ooh.
I had a bad one of these when I first got into bourbon, and I didn't buy them for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I think, hindsight's 20/20, but I think for everyone else coming up in bourbon, never let your first expression of a brand be a pick. Get the regular off the shelf first, and then branch out into a pick.
Well, you know what's funny about that? Is on this note, I had the Russell small batch, or the 10-year or whatever. I didn't like it. Just straight up did not like it. And so I, for a long time, said, I just don't like Russells. Having never had a single barrel of it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a big investment. It's $50, $55, depending
It's
on
true,
where
and
you get
picks
it.
can be even more than that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think I kind of convinced myself, too, when I got that pick that I didn't like, that I always liked the Wild Turkey 101, the rare breed expressions more than these.
Well, I didn't know for a long time that they were the same
Distillery?
producer, the same distillery, yeah. Because, I mean,
They're not branded the same.
no, and I don't know if it actually says Wild Turkey anywhere on here either.
Oh,
I
it
mean-
probably says from the Russell's
Oh,
Distillery.
here it is. Distilled and bottled by the Wild Turkey Distilling Company.
Oh, it does.
But, I mean, that's just me not paying attention.
So unlike, Buffalo Trace, where, this is distilled at the Pappy Van Winkle Distillery, or this is distilled at the Blanton's Distillery, or this is distilled at the... I think some of them...
The
They
Ancient
do-
Age Distillery.
Yeah, they changed it. I think some of them now, I think maybe Eagle Rare says at Buffalo Trace Distillery. I can't
think
remember.
so.
Does it?
Yeah.
I still don't have a bottle of this at home. I never have these unless I go somewhere and somebody's got one.
Well, then you still don't have it.
Yeah.
It's not yours. You
Yeah.
don't own this right now.
I own the small bit that's in this glass. And
I mean,
okay
I don't
with
want that pour. That's all used to one.
You can keep that pour until it's recycled later.
I will say, this is one of my favorite Russell's picks I've ever had.
Then say it.
I did.
Oh, okay. It's an interesting nose. The thing that's really crazy about Russell's, either the 10-year or the single barrel, is they typically don't smell like turkey. Like I can totally see how you would not connect them in your head. Where other places like, oh, yep, that's a Buffalo Trace nose, or oh, yeah, that's a Jim Beam nose. You can kind of get from Jim Beam to Knob Creek to Baker's to Booker's, I guess sort of Basil Hayden, but the 80 proof kind of kills it. You can be like, yep, I see the through note, But with Wild Turkey and Russell's, it's like almost like they're two different distilleries.
I think that Russell's lends itself more towards the older style of turkey. So you know how we always say that there's that different profile that some older turkey has. I think that's where Russell's kind of leans towards, especially Camp Nelson barrels. I think Camp Nelson is almost notorious for having a dusty turkey quality to it.
See, I don't know enough about Camp
Without the
Nelson,
funk.
Warehouse K to kind of figure out which ones, differentiate and how they differentiate. But I do like it. I mean, it's good.
I mean, it's even different than Rare Breed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not that far off in proof.
No.
And really, in some cases, age too.
I see what you mean, though, because now that I'm thinking back, I've got that Rare Breed, the 375 of the 108 proof that they did, and it reminds me more of this than the 116 they're putting out now. So I guess a little bit of that funk is, at Camp Nelson.
Well, there's two different types of funk. There's reggae. There's no, I don't know. Reggae probably isn't even
Reggae's
funk at
not
all.
funk.
Yeah,
Reggae's reggae.
I panicked. I panicked and said, "Just say a genre of music, Chad. It'll be funny. I promise you."
Like punk music.
Yeah,
Like, dang it, they rhyme.
Like samba. Got it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, two different types of funk. Like there's this was made in an era where they didn't have to clean out their pipes type of funk. 80s,
Right.
70s. And then there's someone picked this barrel because it's so different from the normal taste, which can be bad,
Yes.
but can work sometimes.
Does this work for you?
It works for me. I think it's very heavy on the barrel. It tastes very charred.
Yeah, I didn't ask when I picked this up, but I imagine this is probably close to bottle proof, or was close to it when it came out of the barrel. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because turkey, even just straight out of the barrel, is pretty notorious for being like low 110s.
Yeah, I mean, look at Rare Breed.
Yeah.
Those are barrel proofs, and they're 108, 116. I think is like one of the higher ones recently, right?
Yeah, that is the highest one.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going back to your point where you said it was very barrel heavy. I got to try your pick, the Warehouse Delicious.
Oh yeah.
And I got to try the 2002. Really close to each other. I liked your pick better because it's just so barrel heavy on the 2002, and that's one of their premium releases. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that's looking for an ultra aged, just hit me over the face with an oak stave kind of bourbon.
Pappy 23 or any 23 aged really.
Yeah, and that just wasn't it wasn't my thing. So I guess the picks were more where I want to land as far as oakiness, because it's got a lot.
This almost drinks, and even almost in the viscosity, is like molasses. It tastes like you're drinking a kind of watered down molasses. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it tastes thick. And it's got a lot of those dark, deep notes that you would kind of get in like a molasses or like a sorghum. You guys ever had sorghum? It's like, you have that sugar, that sweetness type of
I've not had it straight, but
stuff
I've
in
had
there.
it.
You ever had L8 straight out of the warehouse before it gets water added to it? Because I have.
Wait, have you really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What's it like?
Well, for those who might not know, who don't live around here, L8 is a ginger ale soft drink that's made in Winchester, Kentucky.
And it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's affectionately known as Kentucky Swamp Water. And I was doing a video for this internet company, and they were doing a tour of L8. And so I was going along with these other people on the tour, and I think it was Fielding Rogers, who's like a third generation in the family. And he was like, does he want to try the syrup straight out before it gets diluted? And I was like, no one was raising their hand. So I was like, well, I'll do it. I'm the video guy, but I'll do it. And he's like, this is the equivalent of drinking about 6 Ale8s at once.
Holy crap.
And I was like, bottoms up. And I had it. And then it set in. I was like, my heart started beating faster. And I was like, am I talking loud? Am I talking loud? Am I talking loud? Yeah, I mean, it was intense.
But was it good, though?
Oh, yeah. It was
Okay,
good.
all
I
right.
liked it. I enjoyed it.
Just replace, like, when you make cocktails, use that as the simple syrup instead. Just use.
Straight L8 syrup.
Yep.
Oh, man.
But you're doing it from a dropper. It's
yeah.
like 3 drops.
It's like bitters. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's good. It has a exceptional mouthfeel on it. It's really all over the tongue.
I'm going to Photoshop your face onto that guy.
Good. Trying to get that trending. Exceptional mouthfeel. So I can make some t-shirts.
You're going to eventually, I'm sure.
I think so. I hope so.
There was a point where I didn't want to go much higher than this proof-wise.
Can you take me higher to a bourbon barrel once? Aha.
And scene.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
But it works. It gets
does
you there.
work.
It gets you there.
It does, yeah. And I think even having like a Knob Creek single barrel at one point, I was like, this is good, but it's just too much for me. And I don't even know if I really know the moment when I was fully convinced that I liked barrel proof. I think that it was just kind of this gentle progression rather.
No, it was a procession.
It was a processional.
Yeah, it was a processional.
It was the death of my liver.
No.
We laid flowers.
Too soon. It went too soon. Perry's liver.
It's okay, buddy. We'll get there.
Hang in there.
His name's Steve.
Well, one thing about barrel proofs is you can't really drink them all night, or if you do, you don't have a throat anymore. You don't have an esophagus anymore.
No, I've had a couple of them and then woken up the next morning and like my voice sounds like I've just been screaming at a concert all night. This is insane.
Yeah, and you can get the heartburn and the oof. I mean,
yeah, and I've recently been smoking cigars more than I normally do, and I was asking Brian Allred, who's one of our listeners, what's the best type of bourbon to pair with cigars? He said barrel proof. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I did. And the next day, I could not talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good for a podcaster.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I really gotta.
Welcome to This Is My Bourbon Podcast.
I'm just gonna sound like the Grease from now on.
Y'all
ever had them crystals?
Wow. Apparently, it also makes you more southern.
Well, that's what he... Never mind.
You drink barrel-proof bourbon and smoke cigars, and you get more southern.
I love you, Grease.
See, I don't even know if I could put in that effort, or I just put everything in Google Translate, and you would just have a computer talking to you.
Would you like more bourbon? No, that's the guy from South Park. That's Ned. Yeah.
It's like a speak and spell.
Yo, yeah.
Yeah. Or spell and...
Speak and spell, yeah.
Why is it called a speak and spell if it's a spell and speak? Because you spell it first and then it speaks. We're talking about you speak first and then it spells it.
You are correct. You are correct.
I mean, I know that speak and spell rolls off the tongue better, but...
Yeah, it's probably just marketing. Everything's marketing. Spell and speak. Who ever heard of such a thing?
Well, that's what my children are going to hear it as.
I bet you're going to show them episode 1 first, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to show it in machete order.
Yeah. Is that the one where you just don't even show episode 2?
No, you go 1, 2, 4, 5, 3, 6. And then the new trilogy, who cares at this point?
I thought there was one where you didn't even show 2 for some reason. I forget. I want to see that Topher Grace edit.
Oh, I do
of 1, 2, and 3.
I don't know if you can find it anywhere online.
You can't.
But
you can't. Only a select people have seen it, but he distilled all 3 of the prequel trilogy movies into one feature-length movie.
And apparently, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Topher,
daggone it!
I know you're listening. I'd really like to watch that. So hit us up. This is mybourbonshop@gmail.com.
Speaking of Knob Creek,
who was?
We were. A minute ago.
We did just a second ago.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's called a podcast about bourbon.
This was a pick that I was on.
There you go.
It's a 14-year Knob Creek single barrel from Liquor Barn. It's called "This Is for the G's."
This is for the Warehouse G. Or is there just a bunch of original gangsters there on the
Just
pick?
a bunch of original gangsters.
Okay, that's fine.
So that day we picked 2 bourbon barrels. The other one was called This is for the Hustlers. So
Oh, okay. It makes sense now.
you said that like everything's right.
No, it makes sense. That's fine.
You just keep telling yourself that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is something really cool too, doing barrel picks. And I think that was one of the moments too where I really understood and accepted and loved barrel proof bourbons. Was the first time that I went on a pick. And I mean, this was the very first time I ever went.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, being able to hold it up and seeing the little bits of char floating around in it and just, I mean, we've both been on picks where it's just been freezing cold,
Yes.
but not caring because it's just such a cool
Well,
experience.
you put your bourbon coat on eventually, and then
Well,
everything's
that's
fine. True. Yeah. No, this is April 1st pick was pretty cold.
I think that kind of the wording kind of led me to barrel proof, because barrel proof itself, you're like, okay, cool, it's up there or whatever. But when you hear uncut and unfiltered, like some of them kind of worded, I'm like, I want to try that. That one's right out of the barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what led me to
essentially,
it.
yeah.
And what I really loved about that particular pick too, this is not the Hustlers one, because the Hustlers one, it came out of the barrel at 121 proof. And then of course was bottled at 120.
Yeah.
So that pick is still my favorite Knob Creek pick of all time, because it was not just the fact that, you know, I picked it and it was really good, but also that, you know, it was as close to a barrel proof Knob Creek as you could pretty much possibly get in the market. I mean, they only added like a gallon of water to it.
Right, yeah.
And I think the bottle yield was like something ridiculous, like 55 bottles. I mean, almost nothing.
A really low barrel.
Yeah, well, because it was a 14-year, and it came out at 121 proof. So naturally, I mean, it's going to be quite a bit lower than.
Yeah.
And you know, I tried to ask Brad from Liquor Barn, who's been on the show, you know, could I get another bottle of this? Do you happen to have one around? And he was like, no, man, we don't even have one for ourselves.
Right.
It's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
But anyway, this came out at like 130 something. I think it was like 132 or 3. So, I mean, a little bit more water was added to it, but it's still 14 years old.
Well, it's tasty. Very nutty.
This one's different for me because it doesn't have that much more kick than even like the Weller 107 on the front of the palate, but then it gets that building heat, and then you kind of get the 120 proof from it.
I feel like with the with barrel proofs, or in this case, you know, a 120, you can really feel it in the mouthfeel. Like it's just more all over the tongue.
Yeah.
Like compare this to the Weller 107. It's like big difference. You know,
Yeah, I totally agree.
maybe not in heat, but like the feel. You know.
I remember the first time I had a Knob Creek pick. I mean, aside from me going, I'm not ready for this yet, I really did like it. And remembering that there was something kind of special about that and wanting to come back to it. And I think I might have even had Booker's before I had Knob Creek. And I think, Swan, you might have actually given me a sip of Booker's.
I did, because I got the 2017-2, the Blue Knights batch.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. And I had, at the time, was living in Lexington, and the closest store had the funniest name, so I constantly went there, but they never did any picks, so I always got the Knob Creek 9-year, just the regular shenanigans.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
I know, I always went back to...
Yeah.
when did you live in Lexington?
I lived there for like 8 months.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, not a great place, but it was Lexington. It's on Red Mile.
Okay. Yep.
And it was pretty good. Like the 9-year, I liked it a lot better than the Bookers that I had, which I just attributed that initially to the age, because I think the Blue Knights batch was only like around 7 years, and this was 9, so I just thought it was better in general. And there is still some picks of Knob Creek that I prefer over certain batches of Booker's.
I totally agree.
Not all of them. I mean, like your 30th, I've yet to have a Knob Creek get close to it.
Right.
But some of like the 2017-2, I got to try the new 2019. I like some of the Knob Creek picks better.
Yeah. I've not heard good things about the 2019 one.
I like it. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I appreciate it.
Monica said that it was terrible.
Yeah, well, sorry, Monica, but we disagree on this one. It doesn't taste like what'd she say? Turpentine or something.
Sweaty something, I thought.
Something that would not taste
something
good.
you don't want.
Yeah, something you would not want to drink.
Yeah, I liked it better than they described. It just seemed like it didn't have quite the same, almost like depth.
Well, I'm really looking forward to like a month from now when I have it again. I think it's because people were saying that about kitchen table. They're like, I wasn't on that kitchen table thing on the neck pour, but man, a month later, wow. Like, yeah, no, kitchen table's the best.
Man, even from the neck pour, I thought kitchen table was fantastic.
Me too.
I really, really
Me
did.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm looking forward to trying what is it, Teresa's batch?
Teresa's batch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note as well, I did have Legion again the other day. Also, yes, I do realize that I was saying it wrong on the episode where we reviewed it. It's not Legend, it is Legion.
Oh, Barry.
I had it again at OBC the other night, and I don't dislike it as much as I thought I did.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I'll probably have more of it.
I also want to say, love you, Monica. Just saying. Disagree on this one, that's all. Well, I can't say thanks to Booker's having the date on the bottle, at least in, several recent years. I know that I started drinking Booker's in 2015. That's the first Booker's that I had. And I want to say it was Oven Buster.
Oh, wow.
Or, no, I have Oven Buster, which was a 15, I feel like. But no, the first one I had was something else. I can't remember. My
favorite batch of Booker's still is that one sitting right up there off your rocker.
It's a good one.
That's
2016-05.
That's still my favorite one. I just finished off 2016-01 the other night. The Bluegrass batch.
Sounds right.
Something like that. Yeah. That was another really good one.
Been a big fan of the 2017-3. It's like the front porch batch, I think.
Oh man, front porch
I really
batch.
like
Porch
that
is
one.
also really good. I think that was our favorite of that year.
It was either that or Sip a While, right?
Oh, it might have been Sip a While.
Yeah.
Because that was 04.
It was Sip a While,
Yeah.
but close.
Both of those are so good.
Yeah, it's the only one I bought 2 bottles of, and I'm not one of those that tries to collect every one from the year, because I just know that, I'll try it, and they're good, but they're not something I feel like I need to go out and collect, mostly because I know I'll end up with 20 or 30 of those boxes. Which, unless you've got
But
plans.
I'll take those boxes from you.
I know you will. You've got plans for those boxes.
I've got an
I
empty
do.
bottle for you as well.
Ooh, nice.
It's the Bluegrass batch.
Oh, sweet.
So.
Nice.
But I think right now all I've got is the Little Book batch 1 that they did, and then I've got the 2017-3 bottle, and I'm about to finish. So another box for you.
Yeah, originally I wasn't like, I'm not going to buy every release. And then I'm like, nope, I'm too much of a Booker's fan. I have to buy especially since they pared them down to 4 a year. They were 6 a year. It's like, okay, 4 I can handle. Ugh.
So on that note, and this is a little bit off topic, but I mean, not like this entire episode hasn't been off topic, but still. Everybody was complaining about the fact that Booker's raised their prices. Jim Beam raised the price on Booker's.
Right.
But they knocked down from 6 releases a year to 4 releases, like you just said. So doesn't that warrant a bit of a price hike?
Well, I think it was a long time coming, and they could have incrementally increased it, and probably no one would have noticed it hardly. I think it was that rumor that it was going from essentially $50 to $100, and it never went to $100.
Oh, yeah.
It was like $70. I don't know what the MSRP is, but I think when people heard that they were doubling the price, they were like, "Oh no, I'm done. Ban, boycott Booker's or whatever."
Isn't MSRP like 65?
It might be, 65, something around that area. But I think the price increase was long overdue and is warranted. I mean, it's a hell of a bourbon. I mean, I can't be mad at it. You look at other people like Buffalo Trace who are like, okay, we can't skyrocket Special Reserve or 107 or 12 year, but we can come out with new ones like CYPB and Foolproof and charge double for those because they're new expressions. That's okay. You know, it's like everyone does it in their own way. And Jim Beam just said, okay, well, we have to raise this $15.
See, and I was pretty new when they were talking about the price hike as far as like being into bourbon. I think what got me is I didn't realize that they were blended. So when I was going from the progression, I just looked at it and I'm like, it's a 6 year and however many months. And then there's like there's a 6 year over here, Heaven Hill Bottle and Bonds, and it's
for $12.
And I'm like, why on earth would I pay for this? I was like, why would they ever raise the price? Then you try it, and you're like, it's got so much more.
Yeah.
That is such an interesting argument that I have really never considered.
Yeah. So when I brought my first one, the Blue Knights batch, even though I didn't like it, you start taking it out of the box, and instead of just seeing 2017-2 and then the proof and all this stuff and the cool little picture and the handwritten bottle, you get the little placard that's in the back of it that says pulled from this warehouse and this warehouse and blended and this percentage, and you're like, oh, time went into this. That's why they're charging for it.
Yeah,
and it shows in the drink.
Completely. The 2019-01, like I noticed one of them said 1% came from this level of this way. Like 1%? Yeah.
That's wild.
Crazy. Crazy stuff. Yeah.
And it's the fact that the amount of time was put into it. Dude, just I can't even wrap my head around how you get, that number. And it's like, oh yeah, there's 1%.
It's like, not quite there. It needs 1% of this bourbon from this level of this warehouse. Boop. Yep, there it is.
And is that a little bit from a couple barrels? Is that one barrel? Is that half the warehouse?
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, I don't care. The bourbon's good.
Yeah.
So.
No, it is definitely good. And then, like, I'm glad that whoever's doing the blending and the making sure it's where it needs to be, they're okay with taking risks as much as they're like saying it's only a 6 year, but it tastes so much more than that because they just did it with the 30th. I mean, it was going to be a full 16, and then they were like, well, no, it tastes better if we blend it with a 9.
Yep.
And everybody was like, I don't know about that. We were promised a 16-year-old bourbon, and then we tried it, and we're like, they made the right decision.
Yeah, the lion's share was a 6 year, 9 year.
Yeah.
And then the rest was that 16. But
so, I mean, they're
fine by me because, wow.
Well, I think, too, that it says on a bottle of Booker's that Jim Beam himself preferred bourbon anywhere from 6 to 8 years. Mm-hmm. So it's not just that, they're going with what's available to them. They're basing it on tradition.
Yeah, I mean, you pull it from the center cut of the warehouse. I mean, that's where that's the sweet spot. I mean, who cares if it's 6-7 years? If it, okay, you can drink at 23, but it's been sitting on the first floor of the warehouse for 23 years. And it's like, okay, put it a few levels up and put it in the center cut of the warehouse and give me that in 7 years. I'll be just fine.
Yeah. So I guess the progression thing has to go back to just learning about bourbon too. Like you've got to figure out what different things mean, the wording on each bottle, and the fact that a 10-year Henry McKenna at $30 may not be just as good as a batch of Bookers that just came out for half the price that you'd think it would be, but it's definitely not.
Right.
And I think that we're also kind of learning, too. I mean, I don't feel like I know everything about bourbon. I definitely don't. And, if something should come along that is just as good, if not better than, say, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, then, yeah, I might go for that a little bit more than I would the Elijah Craig. Not that I don't still love it, but there's still this opportunity for me to... And for us, collectively, as bourbon drinkers, to try something else that comes along. I mean, we've never had Castle and Key bourbon.
Right. Looking forward to it.
But there's still that opportunity for that to overtake something like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or Turkey 101 or, those things that we kind of put on those pedestals as some of our favorite products. that are
Yeah,
out
now
there.
it's going to be hard to do it because to unseat it, not only does that to taste better, it has to have as good or a better price.
Yes, absolutely.
Which new products, that is a difficult area to get into.
Yeah, and Perry just did it not too long ago. Probably a couple months ago, you took the Boone County and tried it and said, I prefer this over Blanton's. And there's
Yeah.
people that would just lose their mind over that because Boone County's been sitting behind their local liquor store counter for 6 months and nobody's touched it.
And it's MGP.
And there's 20 or 30 people lining up every truck day for, Blanton's.
I stand by that too.
Yeah,
I really do.
I mean, it's not unheard of for it to happen. It may not happen too much, and a lot of it's probably marketing and availability and price.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I mean, but I think, I don't know. I don't want to generalize, but I feel like the people who are waiting for that bottle of Blanton's might not be drinking barrel proofs. They like that 93 proof smooth bottle of Blanton's.
All the power to them.
And yeah, good on them. Some people are fine with finding a label that they like and just sticking with it for the rest of their drinking career, which is completely fine. But others want to keep trying new things and branching out and discovering, they want to keep finding their new favorite bourbon.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a reason why we're all sitting here having this conversation and not taking slugs off of a handle of Jim Beam or Old Crow. Mm-hmm. It's not that there's anything wrong with that.
Hey, Old Crow Reserve is my jam.
But we're looking at how to become better bourbon drinkers or more informed bourbon drinkers, and there's a subsection of that culture that I think we fall into where we're trying to learn more about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Speaking of drinking bourbon,
would you like some more bourbon?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how about this kind of in line with what we've been talking about? This Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
is that Elijah Craig?
A119.
Elijah Craig.
We all
have
know
not
about
had
the
this
Elijah
yet.
Craig. You've not had it yet.
Not yet.
Swan, I want to tell you something. This is reminiscent of old bottles of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. So I think that where you might have missed out last time.
Oh, I didn't miss out. I mixed that with Coke the whole time. It was great.
Wait, you mixed Elijah Craig Barrel Proof with Coke?
After taking the first sip and making the jump from 80 proofers, I took the first sip and about choked to death, and then I mixed it with Coke.
I mean, yeah, you got to do something because you're not going to pour it down the drain. You're going to drink it, and if that means mixing it with Coke, hey.
Swan, you didn't pour any of that down the drain, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. No,
People
I
who I
drank
see
it.
do that are just like, what are you doing? You're not putting in the effort.
I think there's only been one bottle that I've ever done that with, and it was just, it was bad. It deserved to go down the drain.
Man, it's pungent.
It's
Ooh.
quite hot on the nose. I mean, it's 135 proof. Of course, it's going to have a little bit more kick to it. But again, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to approach this the way that I do now and be able to find something in it that is not just the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, there's a lot of heat, but there's also this really nice milk chocolate note to it that I keep coming back to. It's kind of almost like I think I said this before, it's like a Hershey's. Or no, excuse me, not a Hershey's, a Tootsie Roll.
Oh, yeah, I can get a Tootsie Roll on it.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's more like a spiced fruit.
I see that too.
A cooked, spicy, I don't know what exactly type of fruit.
Apple.
Apple or a pear, yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of, like the dessert type of
Yeah, absolutely.
cooked fruit.
See, I'm getting those Red Hots.
Well, yeah, it's definitely got some cinnamon on there.
Oh, it definitely
For
does.
Yeah.
sure.
I don't know if it's specifically Red Hots, but I can for sure see some cinnamon on there.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
can't
you
breathe
can't
too
get-
deep on that.
No.
I've done that before and just immediately started coughing.
Oh, he did that on the last live stream.
I did.
We were out for 30 seconds.
If y'all ever stuck your head on a tour in the fermenter when all that stuff is, yeah, they warn you don't take too deep of a breath because it will knock you on your ass. And I went in there and like
almost like
feel like
Beetlejuice noise.
you're the reason there's one of those signs next to it. Yeah. Like, you ever look at one of those signs and think, somebody had to have done this.
Coffee is hot coffee May's called, it's like, yeah. I just wanted to know, man. Well, I heard that, Booker, when he would take people on tours, he would tell someone to do that just so he could laugh at them.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Booker thing to do.
Go ahead and stick your head in there and take a big whiff. And then they would almost pass out. I'm like, yep.
Then it became a health hazard, and the CDC got involved, and the FDA.
The good old days.
OSHA, and yeah, before we cared about people.
Back when funny was funny.
Hey, this has opened up a lot since I tried it on the live stream.
I mean, it is definitely pungent, but there are some things.
Using that word.
Yeah, there are some things working in there. It's a deep like cinnamon stick.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I can't remember if I said this or not, but it almost drinks like a cocktail. I mean, it has the layers of flavor to it that a cocktail does.
It's like a barrel-proof hot toddy.
That's how you clear the sinuses up.
Yeah, no, I think this will do it just by itself, yeah. I gotta be honest, I'm not as big a fan of like this as I am the C and the B from last year.
Yeah, I'm not either. I still am not, but
This
I
one
will
almost
say
seems like off-profile.
a little bit.
I'm gonna put a couple drops of water in it.
I think you should. I may as well. What?
I may as well, in conjunction with you. Whoa, that brought out the cinnamon. It's less red hot, so now just more like cinnamon spice, like clove cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me of that 12 you have with water in it.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The rear age stated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a 12-year, so I guess that's
Yeah,
not too
it
far
is.
off.
This goes back to that suggestion you had for the show, too, where you proof down some barrel proof expressions and compare them to their
I've always
their
wanted
actual...
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have the hydrometer to do that accurately now.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So next episode, the three of us are on together. We'll do that. 'Cause I think that'd actually be pretty
It's going
fun.
to save me so much time. I was going to get a notepad and like do the math and get a dropper.
Nah, screw the math.
You can get online. I think there's an actual calculator for that, too.
Probably.
Based on the amount of water and, fluid ounces that you have.
I think about 20 minutes of this mingling with the water, I think it would really open up.
Mm.
And it's still
Oh, man.
pretty dang hot.
So with water, this reminds me more of the B&C releases from 2018.
Yeah, a little bit. I ran
Swan's not
out.
sure.
It's still, I may have put too much water in it, but it's still reminding me more of like the 12 there that you have. Kind of a little bit heat forward, but really dominant on like the dark barrel notes for at least Elijah Craig.
Yeah.
It totally changed the mouthfeel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 100% changed it from being kind of, for lack of a better word, like spiky
Yeah.
almost,
Uh-huh.
where it was hitting in different places, almost like needles, to just coating the mouth a lot more. I mean, my tongue, I feel like I've got the bourbon sweater on my tongue.
Well, it might just be tongue fatigue, but I feel like I was getting more of an oily mouthfeel on the Knob Creek.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think probably just because it's a lower proof.
Yeah.
This one's a little too prickly, maybe.
Swan, I'm sorry that you didn't like your Elijah Craig barrel proof back in the day because I feel like we could have had some good times with it.
Oh, I had a great time. I watched a lot of Family Guy in the hotel room, mixed it with Coke. No, it was fine, man. Hey, I got to learn sometime. I mean, it's part of it. I guess where I was like, I was born and raised in Frankfurt, right next to Buffalo Trace. I'll just put some hair on my chest.
It's in your DNA.
I can do it. And then you have anything over like 110, you're like, I'm dying. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good learning experience because now it's nice to know that I tried it and I could not handle it, and I've progressed to the point that that's something that I not only like but prefer.
Mm-hmm.
So I got back to it. Like I also had the same thing with Stag Junior when I first had it. It took me probably 2 or 3 months before I was really capable of
Yeah.
drinking it without thinking, This is trying to kill me.
Man, the first bottle of Stag Junior I had, I think I actually bought off of you, Chad.
Oh.
And it totally knocked me out.
Do you remember what proof it was?
Like 124,
That's kind of a lower one.
I think. I can't remember for sure. It's been it's been a minute.
I think my first one was the 130 flat that they had.
Yeah.
That was my first one.
Yep.
And it was spicy. Because then I had the
Yes.
126.4, and I like that one a lot better. It was a little more mellowed and seemed like it had more of a profile to it instead of just,
Yeah.
I'm trying to strangle you.
Now, Stag doesn't mess around no matter what proof.
No.
It seems to just really just be like, I am a Stag. I'm going to buck.
Well, speaking of Stag,
Yeah.
shall we get to the review?
Let's do it.
Well, that kind of wraps it up, but I'm curious what everybody's first experience or first time that you really enjoyed barrel proof bourbon was. So give us a shout. You can either head to our Facebook group, which I don't think I've mentioned on the show yet. It's called This Is My Bourbon Group. And we have a really fun little community and conversation going on there. Or you can hit us up on social media at My Bourbon Pod, and we would be happy to hear from you. Or you can email us. It's mybourbonshop@gmail.com. Any of those three ways for you to reach us would be great. But we are going to move into our review now of Stag Junior, which is at a staggering 127.9 proof.
Ooh, okay, I'm out. See you later.
Right, I'm right behind you, Swan.
And we are actually reviewing these out of Norland glasses too, which Chad has decided that he's going to actually endorse.
Well, I don't know that yet.
Well, you told me that months ago.
I did?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, here's Stag Junior.
I don't know. I think it's still dependent upon what bourbon you're drinking out of it.
I did try it with 101. There is something to that.
Yeah, and to back that up, Lucy, my wife, is not a bourbon drinker, and she had Turkey 101 out of a Norland glass and was like, I could drink this all day long. And I think I texted you both immediately after that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was back in October. And yeah, it was a good moment.
It's weird. Like with the Norland glasses, I feel like the sweet spot's like 100 to 120. It just really kind of mellows it out, makes it good. Anything over that, I can't tell a difference really. Anything under that, it mellows it out so much, I can't really.
I was having something. It was on our. We do a patron-only podcast on Patreon, and it was David Nicholson Reserve, which is 100 proof.
Yeah.
And Sarah was drinking it out of a rocks glass, and I was drinking it out of a Norland, and I'm like, man, I thought this was nutty, and I thought da 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 da, and I was like, and then I took a sip of hers out of the rocks glass. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's strange.
I really think it's very dependent upon the bourbon. It can help or hinder.
Like I tried it with the Evan Williams single barrel, and it was like just drinking water. So then I dumped it out into a rocks glass and let it sit for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
I got some of those classic notes you get with it. I just didn't get it with the Norland.
Yeah, it's weird. It is weird.
Well, the heat's really coming through on this one.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it's coming through as much for like a Stag Junior. I mean, it's definitely still there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You're not going to not find ethanol.
Yeah, it's kind of curbed it in a way that I can still enjoy what's hanging around with it.
It's still in the taste. Yeah.
There's something floral on the nose that I don't know if I've ever found on a Stag before.
It's like berries.
Yeah.
I always get the same thing with Stag Junior, and it's always like raisins.
Huh.
I always get raisins. And it may have just been the two bottles that I have, because I don't think I've actually had this proof.
This is one of the most recent ones, right?
Yeah, it's 127.9, so I think
Yeah.
that's the end of last year.
11? Batch 11?
I think so. Yeah. 10 or 11, I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, I can see the raisins.
This has something really odd to it that I can't quite figure out. And it's almost like it's a weird peanutty quality to it. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But there's something funky about it.
It's like a fruity peanut butter
Yeah.
berry.
Are we talking about peanut butter and jelly here?
No, not jelly.
It's like trail mix.
There's a lot in there.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot
Yeah.
in there. And like that organic peanut butter that has the oil that you have to stir. Because it has that
yeah.
oiliness to it.
Yeah.
I like the nose going back to it now better than I did before.
Yeah. But man, even in the Snorlin, it's still pungent.
Yeah. You've been using that word so much tonight.
I don't know.
Is that the new word?
I don't know how else to describe it. It's
Make it a shirt. We got it.
It's pungent.
I don't mind it though. It's not pungent to the point of aggressive.
Yeah.
You know? It's just presenting enough to where I go, there's something really strong here.
Buried underneath it all, I get kind of a honey tea, but it's really amplified.
Put some water in it. Smell it. See what you think now.
I'm getting a lot more vanilla now.
Yeah. Stag Junior has always been very hard to break down for me. It's so, I don't know. It's just like a really strong bourbon. I'm getting just as much ethanol though with the water, which is kind of strange.
Probably needs time to mix.
I put too much water in mine.
Well, just add more bourbon, Perry.
Oh, I'm getting much more of that honey tea note when the water's added.
And maybe that's what it is that I'm having a hard time with it because I don't drink tea.
Right. I don't either, but I know the taste
Yeah.
from when I've been forced to drink it because that's the only thing they have or something like that. Kind of like a peach tea. Like, so sometimes Sarah's favorite Monster Rehab is the peach tea. Mine is the tea and lemonade. But when I drink through mine and there's only one left, I'll drink one of Sarah's. It kind of has that peach tea type of flavor to it.
I'm definitely getting peach on the nose.
It's just strange to me how, like, I always associate this with super aggressive, and then you get some of those kind of, like, floral, fruity notes
Like a
to
peach
it.
is so delicate.
Yeah. And
I smell stags and kerosene and hunting rifles.
I mean, I don't know. You don't ever expect like a bottle of deer antlers and 130 plus proof to be inviting and friendly, but when you add some water, it's not too
I
bad.
smell peaches and herbs. Peaches and herbs.
And a little bit of
Peaches and cream.
That bluebell ice cream.
But oh no, we
no.
ate it all.
They lost the boy and the dog.
I know.
Oh, no.
I know.
Oh, they found the boy and the dog.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yay.
I like it when he's a bee. It's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and sting you. But oh no, if I do, I'm gonna die. Oh well, I'm just gonna go and do it anyway. Family Guy, if you don't know. If you're just like, what the hell? Yeah.
I don't know how much of that's going to make it in.
Okay, but
All of it, please.
all of it.
Every single
Every
second of it.
last drop.
Perry just about did a spit take with Stag Junior.
Not recommended. Yeah, summer tea, like sun, sun tea.
Yeah.
Leave it out in the sun. It's much more, dare I say, southern tasting with the water.
Can I say I don't think I like it with water?
You can say it.
I will. I don't like it with water.
Okay.
I don't like it as much with water either, and I've noticed we haven't talked about the finish. What do you guys think about it?
There's not a lot on the finish.
Which is strange, because usually
More on the palate, yeah.
I kind of attribute Stag Junior and higher proof bourbons in general to give you that Kentucky hug, the more like
Yes.
viscous.
Well, I
finish
feel
to it and
like
stuff.
if we'd started out with this, we would have been getting that
Oh,
hug.
yeah.
But the
Oh,
fact
sure.
that we have stepped up Our last one was 135. The one before that was 120. I feel like we're past the noticing Kentucky hug part. I really do.
It's true.
Yeah. We're being hugged and we don't even know it, which is how I like it.
I need an adult.
Shh, Barry, shh. It's okay. Shh.
Do you guys want me to leave? Like,
No, I need you to stay. Because if a couple years from now it comes out that
it's all
Chad's
theater. It's all theater. It's radio theater. You know what time it's for, Perry?
it's time for never pulling fleshy piercings.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh dang, wish I hadn't drank it all.
Do you want some more?
Nah,
All right.
probably should.
Well, we have to actually review this bourbon here.
Is that what happens in a review?
Yes, it is. I almost said episode instead of bourbon. But we have a review system of nose, palate, finish, and price. Each category is out of 5. And we tally everything up for a total score out of 20. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first with the nose.
Okay.
I gave it a 3. I think the only thing that's missing for me is one, I'm not much of a tea person. Like you do get that quite a bit on the nose. So that's going to be more of a personal preference, but it is just hot. And I got to imagine if you had this in anything other than a Orland, it'd be almost too aggressive. That's kind of the point, though, for Stag Junior, because if you have a Stag, just a regular, it's supposed to be the sort of like more refined version of it and more not diluted by any means, but just like the more finished product.
To the point,
yeah,
I would say.
And so this being a little rough around the edges is exactly what they intended.
Yeah.
So I think a 3 is right where it should land for me.
I gave it a 2.5.
Okay, I gave it a 3.
Well,
There's no wrong answers.
I'm in
Barry.
the minority. I just think that it was good, but not great.
Sure.
I for a barrel proof bourbon, I thought that there should have been a lot more to it that I would find enjoyable and enticing and everything. And I just thought that it hit this weird middle of the road where I was like, at this proof, it should be better and bigger and bolder.
Now, do we want to do this real quick?
Okay.
Do we want to either pour your remain? Well, did you put water in it?
Yes, I did.
Do you want to do a tiny pour in a Glencairn and pass around just for the nose?
Yeah, we probably should.
Just for the nose.
Yeah, we should.
I like that better than the Norland.
It's really odd.
Just a little bit better in this than the Orland.
You get more of it. You get more of the Buffalo Trace.
I almost get more of a peanut on
Nose.
that than I did with the Norland.
It's less subdued. It's a little more in your face.
I think I'm still going to stick with a 3.
I think I will too, but I would almost give it like a 3.3. But I'll just keep it at 3.
I would actually bump this up to a 3 for sure.
Thought you might.
That's really bizarre.
Again, it's that weird science of Norland versus Glencairn. Now that's diluted. So
Yes.
in the Norland,
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
want you to smell that.
it's like not much, and then something.
And then a lot.
yeah,
exactly.
No, it's no, totally. It's
I think that I have to bump that up to a 3 then.
So we're 3 all around.
Yeah, I think so. It and again, like, it's not blow your socks off fantastic, but it really is a very good, well-rounded nose. And I am really surprised that trying it from the Norland glass had that kind of effect on it. And maybe it just, like Swan was saying, went in the direction of being too overpowering or too forgiving. I don't know. I think I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
So
pull.
All right, so for the palate, I gave it a 3.5. I like the palate a lot better. Mostly because if you could put water in it and you get something different,
yeah.
and it kind of lends itself to different flavors. It's hot, yeah, but that's what I expect from Stag Junior.
I gave the palate a 4.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
I also gave it a 4.
Yeah, I think that the palate is really fantastic.
And especially when I just took a sip from this Glencairn, I for sure give it a 4. I feel like it's...
I think it's coming down to a lot of my dislike for tea.
Oh, yeah. I get less tea
Oh, man.
on the Glencairn.
Oh, man. Yeah, I definitely am standing by that 4.
Yeah. It's a solid 4.
I'm still going to keep it where it's at.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah. It is better, but I mean, I don't know.
No, I
it's
feel you.
different. It's wildly how different it is.
No, I got you.
I will say my finish score changed because of the Glencairn.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now we're on to fleshy.
Yes. Ugh.
All right, so finish, I gave it 2.5.
I also did.
I think it's just kind of the weak point of it.
Oh, I gave it a 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
I don't know. I kind of put it in the same ballpark as the nose. It was good. But
I just don't find anything on the finish that I'm really drawn towards. A little bit of what I like on the palate is hanging around, but it's not so much that it really makes me want to go back for another sip. And while this is what I always think about, is while the palate may be exceptional or good, or really good, whatever, and that makes me want to go back for it, if the finish is middle of the range to lackluster, I'm like, it's, I'm not being enticed into another sip of it. So I think that 2.5 is really where, for me, that sits pretty well.
I guess I went with, 2.5 is half of 5. So that's a 50%. So that's an E. That's a fail. It didn't fail me. So I gave it a 3. Just because it didn't fail me. It wasn't my favorite part, but it was, I thought, above what a 50% would be.
See, the way I looked at it is like if I compare this to Kitchen Table at roughly the same price, I'm going to take the Kitchen Table way more over this.
Yeah.
Well, agreed.
And kind of warranted the score, and I think I gave the Kitchen Table a 4.5 on finish.
There you go.
So it was up there. It had just like a really nice, like viscous, almost like honey finish to it, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
I want to say before we get to the price, this is not my favorite batch of Stag Junior that we've ever had.
Sure.
There have been previous
I'd agree
ones
with
where I
that.
have been over the moon about them. But there's something about this one that just kind of falls short. And based on all of that, I gave the price a 3. The price normally goes around, like $65, $70? Or it should at
It
least.
should be like 55, I feel like.
Yeah, I usually see it for $57.99.
Yeah. So in that price range, that there's not a whole lot of barrel proof bourbons either at this price that have this quality. And I understand that I'm kind of contradicting myself, but this for me is not really doing anything more than say old Ezra 7-year barrel proof is.
Ugh. That guy.
It's a bit, and I'm not trying to discredit Stag Junior, but there's something about this batch that doesn't do it for me, and is on the same level as the Ezra Barrel Proof.
Well, I have some clarification. I just Googled. This is batch 11.
Okay.
So this was fall 2018. Now, batch 10 made it into our top 6, if I'm remembering right, bourbons of 2018. That was a really good batch.
Yeah.
And this, I think, definitely falls short of that batch 10.
Yeah, and batch 10 was the 126.4, I remember.
so, yeah.
And it was phenomenal. And I would
Yes.
take that over this
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
any day of the week.
Yes.
I would even take that over the Elijah Craig we just had, which for me is saying a
You
lot.
know what? I think I would too.
But if I
The
were to...
126 or the
The
126.
2019-01.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's... I don't
Or
know.
2019-01. I gave it a Booker's thing. The A...
I was gonna let
went
that
right-
go,
it
but
went right over
I
my
got
head.
so lost
The
there for a
A
second.
119
Yeah.
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long episode. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it really depends on the batch of Stag, and then if you're comparing it to either Booker's or if you're comparing it to Elijah Craig, it depends on the batch of that too. I do like that they're wildly different because there's somebody that's going to prefer this way over the 126.4.
Well, I think you hit it on the head there. I think Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, Stag Jr., and Booker's are like three of the big guys when we're talking about barrel proofs. And I think those are like the measuring sticks because they are kind of available-ish. They're not BTAC level. They're not, limited edition of whatever year level. Right. They are. You can, if you put in the effort, you can get one. You know?
Yeah, they're not a lottery drawing type bourbon.
Right.
They're like just happen
maybe
to walk
some
in.
places.
Some places, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, but I mean, if you walk in enough on truck day, eventually you're gonna find one.
Yes, absolutely. I gave it. We're on price, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I gave it a 4 as well.
I gave it a 3.5, and I think I might be a little too harsh on this batch in particular because I think if previous batches like the batch 10 that was in your lineup, probably would have gone a little higher.
Yeah.
So if you want, we can go like a 3.75 just to right there in the middle and mess it up a little bit.
Well, I feel like it's one that it's a higher maintenance barrel proof.
Yeah.
You're going to need to spend some time to experiment with water, to get that right ratio, to let it open up, whatever. This bottle's pretty well poured, so it has opened up. But I feel like you're going to need, if you put in the time and you get that right ratio, it's still a good value. It's not the best value, but it's still pretty good for the proof and the quality of juice that you're getting.
But are there value barrel proof bourbons?
I think when you get Elijah Craig Barrel Proof at its MSRP, it's absolutely
That's a value?
Yeah. I feel like Booker's is a value still, even.
Yeah, and even the ones that I think that are value, like if you take the rare breed, it's not touching
definite value.
That's a good point.
Value.
It's not touching the 130 range though, but it is.
How did I forget about rare breed?
You always forget about
How dare I?
Yeah. I mean, it's not getting up into like the 120, like mid 120s to 130 range, but as far as just a barrel proof in quotation marks, it's price wise going to knock this out of the park, and it's 36, 40.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would like to. This would be a good episode to throw some 1792 full proof in the mix and see where it falls, because I feel like right now, just thinking about it, I could call that a good value because normally it's around $45-$50.
Yeah.
For 125 proof. It's always 125, so it's not. It's barrel proof entry proof, so they do cut it down, but it's full proof. You know, full proof as far as barrel proof entry.
Well, my overall score was 12.5.
Who can do math? 4 and 4, and then 3, and then 3 is. Waiting for y'all to do it.
That's 14.
14.
Okay, 14.
Yeah,
That's pretty high, yeah.
I gave it a 12.75.
Okay.
So this for me is if we're going on a scale of like, should I try it at a bar or go ahead and buy a bottle? I would try this at a bar first.
This particular batch, yes.
Yeah.
In general, Stag Jr.
I would buy it.
If I see a bottle, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, Stag Jr. has always fallen into the category, and I've even heard Chad say this. It's if I see it and it's under $60, I'm going to grab it every time.
Yes.
And that's just because I know that even if I've already got that batch of it, somebody else is going to want it. And if I can get it to them just to try it, enjoy it, that's perfectly fine.
Or make a little trade or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's just solid. Like, I'm never going to be upset when somebody's like, hey, do you want to pour Stag Jr.? It's just, and I'm going to be fine with that every time. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not my favorite batch. Now, some of them are much better than others, as we've talked about, but if somebody, offered me a pour of this, I'd be fine with it. And at a bar, this is one of those that I think just because of the name attached to it, you are going to pay quite a bit more. So 2 or 3 pours of this, and you might as well have just bought a bottle.
Yep.
I think consensus-wise, be picky and choosy with it. You should probably put a little bit of research into this one. You probably can't go wrong with it, but there is a slight chance that you could be like, this wasn't worth the money.
Yeah, and going back to our topic, if you're still drinking like Jim Beam Black, and you're like, oh, cool, they have a Stag Junior. That's from Buffalo Trace. If you want to get it, that's fine, but maybe wait a little while to open that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Take your
Maybe go to
time.
that Knob Creek 120 first.
Well, that wraps up our review, but we have another segment left.
Bits
before we
and
get out of
tips.
here. No, tips and bits.
Oh, okay.
Close
Spell and speak?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So do you guys have tips and bits this week?
I do. I came prepared. Last
I'm
week
so
I was
proud of you.
stumped. That was great. I've got this bad habit of waiting until a show ends and then just blowing through it real quick on some sort of streaming service. And recently it's been season 3 of Grand Tour.
Grand Tour.
It's
I know that show.
yeah. So it's what is it? Top Gear.
Oh, okay.
They redid it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, man. The budget for that show's got to be ridiculous, and the editing on it's fantastic. So it's fun to watch. I mean, this most recent episode, they dropped them in the middle of like some random country, and then they did 3 giant helicopter drops of crates, and inside of it was a car they had to build and then drive like 600 miles.
Jeez.
I mean, just dumb stuff. I mean, it's just fun to watch, and of course it's Jeremy Clarkson, so he's just funny.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth watching. And this is their 3rd season, so they've got 2 more seasons of this, and I can't even tell you how many seasons of Top Gear if you've not watched that. And it's one of those things too where you don't have to be a car person really to find humor in it. I mean, there's certain spots you might want to just fast forward when they're reviewing a car or something, but it's still hilarious.
Nice. I've been watching this show on Hulu, which is still coming out. It's called The Act. And
Who was talking about that recently? Was that Curtis?
don't know.
Might have been. It wasn't me. I've not heard of this yet.
Yeah. So it's based on true events of this mom and her daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. It wasn't Curtis, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. And Joey King plays the daughter, and she does a phenomenal job. There's some type of syndrome out there. I forget what it's called, but the mother was purposely making the daughter seem ill or convincing her that she had disabilities or diseases that she didn't have, just so they could remain in the public eye and get sympathy and all this. And this isn't a spoiler because you get this in the very first episode, or if you know of the real event, she ends up killing her mother because she was basically being held prisoner.
Right.
So it's a true life retelling of those events, and it's actually pretty captivating.
And it happened like a couple of years ago,
2015,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is when it happened, when the act happened. Yeah. It's a little heavy, but I find it interesting because the reason why I was like, yeah, I'd watch it is because I listened to an interview of the actress on ID10T. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'd watch this. It's cool.
So I haven't seen it yet, but I am so excited for Endgame. Avengers Endgame. I'm like counting down the days until I get to see it.
I just saw Captain Marvel this weekend.
How'd you like it?
It was fine. It wasn't my favorite.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
That it's
a little bit better than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Do I need to?
Well, there's an end credit scene. Like all these, it's the end credit scene that's the most important thing. Just like Captain Marvel, the end credit scene is really the most important thing to tie into future movies.
If I know what happens in the end credit scene, do I have to see the rest of the movie?
No.
Okay, then I'm good.
Then you're good.
Yeah. See, with Marvel, I'm always terrified that they're gonna make some little callback to small portions in like each one. So I feel like I have to watch it. But with Endgame being so big and so many people
they don't
in
got
it,
time for that.
they don't have time for that. Even with the 3 hours it's supposed to be.
Yeah. But I wanted to see it in case there was anything like that. Turns out there really wasn't. That's fine. I want to see it anyway.
It's a good
It's fine.
Phase 1 Marvel movie.
Correct.
Like there's nothing that's overpoweringly like you have to know everything about this lore to enjoy it. I mean, they even introduced Nick Fury in a really good way.
Yeah.
To where you're like, oh, here's this guy. He's a part of everything.
You do find out how he loses his eye if you
do.
want to know.
Spoilers.
Yeah, and they lay on the 90s references thick.
Yes, they do.
They do. It's got a good soundtrack, though. When I was watching the movie, I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Music was better in the 90s.
You're a punk, Chad.
I'm just saying it was. It was better.
On the nerd note, though,
Yeah.
I have been reading Spider-Man Life Story, which is a fantastic comic book if you are a Spider-Man fan. It goes chronologically through different decades of the United States. So it starts out in the 60s, and then the second issue is in the 70s, third, 80s, and so on and so forth. So you actually, it's not the sliding time scale that Marvel Comics usually uses. It's actually like following him era by era, beat by beat. And it's maybe my favorite Spider-Man story that's come out in the past year.
Nice.
Or 5 years.
Cool.
Maybe 10 years.
All right.
I'm really going on here.
15
20
years.
Yeah, let's just keep
25
going.
years. 30 years.
It's way better than Clone Saga, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I remember that. 90s.
I love doing like really nerdy tips and bits. I think that's my favorite. But
Yeah.
anyway, that does it for this episode, I think. If people can find you on social media, where can they do that?
I'm on @the_Bourbon_Finder on Instagram.
And
That's about it. Yeah. I kind of suck at keeping up with the other stuff.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook @It's Bourbon Night, Patreon.com/It's Bourbon Night, YouTube.com/It's Bourbon Night, and WhiskeyAmbitions.com for merch.
Yes.
Whiskey Ambitions.
I think I have my Drink More Bourbon glass in the wash right now.
Yeah, it's a good glass.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
a good
that glass.
glass.
I love the size of those, man.
It's perfect.
Yes,
It's my
great.
favorite.
Oh, I'm so
rocks
happy
glass.
that we found that particular model of glass. Yeah, it's the best rocks glass ever. So good. Still waiting on those Glencairns to come back in stock.
It's like the
Jeez.
first and only rocks glass that I have that I can put a 1 ounce pour in and not look at it.
It doesn't
That's
look lost.
pitiful.
Yeah. You put in those
Exactly.
big, like, what are they, 9-ounce rocks glasses? I don't
Yep.
even know. And you're like, well, this is kind of silly.
Yeah.
Looks like it rained in my glass, kind of.
Yeah, it's the kind of glasses you look at your bartender like, really? Come on, a little
really?
bit more?
Yeah.
That's it? Unless it's Perry.
$20 for this.
Yeah, unless
Yeah.
it's Perry and you're like, sir, it's overflowing. What's going on?
You're still pouring, and it's on the bar.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and open a second bottle. Wow. Wow.
Slow it down there, champ.
Eager beaver.
Well, if you want to follow me personally, I am at PRaider1492 on all social media channels. You can follow the show itself at My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can send us an email. This is mybourbonshop@gmail.com if you have questions or comments about the show. You can also head to bourbonshop.threadless.com if you would like to take part in our sale, which is going on for just a couple more weeks. Orders over $45, you are getting free shipping. So definitely check that out. Like I said earlier, we have the Facebook group. Just search This Is My Bourbon group on Facebook. Chad, you're not a part of it yet.
I didn't even know it existed.
I've invited you.
I am on Facebook so seldomly.
Yeah, I know you are, but your fiance is on the group though. So
Okay. Well, I will take care of that.
fair enough. I do a live stream every Thursday night over on YouTube. It's youtube.com/This Is My Bourbon Podcast. And then the big one, patreon.com/My Bourbon Podcast. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support the show. Really do appreciate that. We are always working towards our next goal, even though we just hit our most recent one. And thank you all so much for everybody who supported that and helped us out. We're only growing up, and I'm excited for it. I think that does it, though.
Cool.
Thanks, Chad.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Thanks, Swan.
Thanks.
Yeah. That does it for this week. I'll see you guys next week, though. But until then, I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.